I'm going to read his bio anyway. There's a lot to say about this guy. Paul Corman-Roberts is the author of the flash fiction collection Sometimes You Invent New Worlds for Old Losses from Tainted Copy Press. He is the fiction editor for Full of Crow Online. And writes the monthly column Dispatches from Atlantis for Red Fez. He is the co-founder of Oakland's Beast Crawl Festival, an amazing writing festival you should all go to if you missed it last year. And once had coffee and donuts with Eldridge Cleaver. I'm hoping to say that one day about myself.
You can't still it.
No, with you, I mean.
Oh, okay.
So catch up with his exploits at bitchesbrewsreview.com, another amazing reading series which you should also attend. And here's Paul. Thank you.
So I guess in the spirit of the season, some old stuff and some new stuff. This is called The Ninth. There's a feeling that a lot of you writer poet types might be familiar with, that that story, that poem that begins as this nagging in your bosom, like a pregnant seed building that swells into your heart and then flows down your arms and out your wrist onto the blank piece of paper in 10 minutes or less. Wow, an almost perfectly crafted poem, so almostly perfect it only needs one edit. And even that one's questionable. No, this story poem is perfectly crafted. And so you take your perfectly crafted story poem and you set it free into the world to see what it can do, to see if it can fly. And your perfectly crafted story poem quickly makes the final round of an esteemed local literary magazine's story poem contest. Your perfectly crafted story poem quickly makes the final round of an esteemed local poetry slam. Your perfectly crafted story poem quickly garners you an orgasm with the most beautiful person, with the most beautiful genitalia you could possibly hope to share an orgasm with. That feeling is not the feeling that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the feeling the day after, when the most beautiful person with the most beautiful genitalia has gone back to their life, and the esteemed local Poetry Slam is looking for a new champ, and the esteemed local literary magazine has a new deadline, and you and your perfectly crafted story poem are together, alone, with all the blank space on the page thereafter. That feeling is what God felt on the 8th day, and why war was created on the 9th. This poem is entitled, Somebody Other Than Andy Needs to Distribute the Mail. Stay right there and allow me to sink my teeth into your autonomy. Don't you think I would change my name if I thought it would make a difference? Sit there and smell my displeased look. I left the electric sun back on the horizon when I was young. Go on, slather it on. Rub it in. Rub my authority all over every exposed part of you. I won't stop until I've covered you with it, and then all things will be possible. We will be anyone, anything we want, again, finally. But until then, somebody other than Andy needs to distribute the mail, and I'm too busy to do it. This is called networking. When you abandon them, they respond accordingly. Every action coping with an equal and opposite reaction. It's a pretty old story, you know. I imagine Facebook as this aerodynamic dumping ground for the desperate. So you're supposed to dig a hole for yourself and then cry when you stand in it? That simply has no class. There was falling in love, then there was leaving someone for someone else, and then there's grinding salt into that laceration. I've been the cuckold, even getting a perverse happiness out of that. And after then, it was all booze, cigarettes, and kink, the changeling shuffle for the latest mate. Then one day, she said, This is an older poem. We had really an extraordinary election last year, where the second election in history where the electorate was majority women, and it made a huge difference in the results of that election. And the year before was a book that came out called The End of Min. And I would like to note that I wrote a poem called Dying Breed 5 years before that book came out. And the first person to publish that poem was Misty Rainwater Light, sitting right there, who just moved here from Austin, Texas?
San Antonio.
She's moved here from Texas, and this is the year she's not going back. But she was the publisher of is still the publisher of Instant Pussy, and published that poem at that time, and I think it's just really, because she's here tonight, I'm going to do it. And this is called Dying Breed. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the Bernal Yoga Studio, I have seen our doom. I have seen the end, and the end is a vagina. And why shouldn't a vagina be the end after all? Because it is, in fact, the beginning. Now, 2/3 of you boys and half of you women have been spending all but the first 12 years of your life trying to get back inside there anyway. Are you really going to deny your fate at this point? Because 12,000 years ago, vagina actually ruled the world. But you won't read that in any book that wasn't burned in Alexandria. As a matter of fact, vagina has demonstrated that it really doesn't need any of us anymore. And what about us, with our 45-year-old beer guts busting out in front of our computer keyboards, sucking in the pale blue light of the ether from the digital pacifier, from which we extract these baubles, these thousands of baubles of data that we hold up in our hands and examine and polish and compare and contrast to all the other thousands of already polished baubles of information and data that we extracted from the other ether blue pools of our digital pacifiers. And I could be talking about pro football, politics, pornography, or video games, and it just doesn't matter. Ladies and gentlemen, I have seen the end, and it is a vagina, and it's coming for all of us. Sort of that theme from that kind of leads into this longer, newer piece that I will finish on tonight. And again, thank you, Jeff, so much for, thank you to the studio for allowing us to be here tonight. Thank you all for doing this. This is Atlantis, or an extended series of passages in search of a literary core that never really existed. Prelude to a prologue. You should see my nightstand. It's a great big monument of you. Skyscrapers of literata, manufactured in components by a woman whose pheromones I insist I can smell across the continental divide. Skyscrapers I want to climb to the peak of each and every one of them, and how many times did I attempt that dive off of those structures, arranged in the DNA spiral to the very tipping point of the nightstand, and free fall down, 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 into bliss, into the sea of starlight where we have imagined ourselves clean again. I always was the wraith you meant to make of me, or so I once dreamed in the back of a doomed strategic air command outpost as a young man whose energy is so drained, so empty, coming out of such motion and into the desert. The smell of it, desperate for touch, unknowing of real language, only the shuffle of all of you singing my underneath, tilling a fertile coma, ghost reaching. It wouldn't be purgatory if we didn't keep coming back here to decay. Prologue for a prologue. The appearance of design necessarily infers the design of appearance. Tools, mechanisms, rendered into patterns of collapsing dominoes, a rush and push, and the people that we stand on are the ones that we love. A treachery we recognize, threat impending, and we remain helpless to prevent the inevitable overtaking of us, sand laughing at our plight, and no one escapes that laughter. Better to square up with our dignity, our kissing cousins for now. This moment is past, and only our invisible qualities have stayed with us. Don't you play with me, boy, she kept asking in my direction. Truth is desire, truth is pain. Separate these things, O my empress, but not here. No, no one here wishes to see the truth as its true self. The reminders are too painful. Those of us seeking the favor of power have seen ourselves turned on, betraying, giving our own away to our own, killing our own. How could this ever be a holy land? Epilogue to a prologue. And in spite of all this, everything means something. no matter how in fashion the variations on this trope just happen to be. A civilization come jihad can be created out of any vile matter pulled out of anyone's ass, the choice to choose so remaining ever yours. To pretend anything. Why wouldn't you? Start with the moisture you give. What is it that you give moisture for? The answer is to those things that are most important to you. That is to say, entire meta-universes are contained in the trail of moist that runs down your cheeks on frozen, lightless mornings. And who the hell is tonight that is those same meta-universi inside those trails of moist on your frozen cheeks and lightless mornings where all of our broken and lost dreams have gone to fix and find themselves? Now, if you empirically disprove this, then perhaps you and I can be in dialogue. Until then, a grimy resin coats our teeth when we indulge in the capers of the cosmos and the farce of the flesh in such close proximity to each other. Such things as these we burn faster than the speed of thought, mediated by some other ether. And who hasn't known this in the throes of the kinds of orgasms that take the us out of us and the I out of why, out of everything that means something? Why would we ever choose to stop playing with Prometheus matches? Not now knowing, not what's on the other side, but simply that there is another side. So go on, fumble with them. Your fingers will always be furious with this fire, no matter how many times you burn yourself out, no matter how many times your dust coats my teeth. A tabula rasa awaits all of us in the void. So what are you waiting for, O light? Afterward to an epilogue? I feel the hardening in your stance, in your posture, in your protest, in your prone. I don't always need soft. I need you. In that smallest singularity of Shiva, I will charge in behind that curtain for that peak, that smell, that taste of what's been cooked in soupy dark matter sauce, the great goddess at the center of the galaxy. Thank you.
Back here in 2 months, Saturday, March 2nd, we have these readers. This is just another incredible lineup. Maisha C. Johnson, Kristen Cadner, Phil Lumsden, Josh Moore, Paul Campbell, I think I saw. Is he here? Yep, there he is, Paul. Amy Fawn, Nina Schulzer, Sandra Wasiller. We have a reception set up there. Mingle, stay. As you're leaving, if you can kind of grab your stuff and maybe sort of gravitate all this like stuff on the floor toward that area, it'll make it easier to put up there. Thanks again for coming. Enjoy the snacks and stuff.